Being overwhelmed, overthinking, and over-researching are the new procrastination. In this episode, I'm breaking down the psychology behind analysis paralysis, how to know when it's time to act, and the exact framework you can use to stop researching and start building. Whether you're holding back on launching, posting, or pursuing your next move, this episode gives you the practical steps you can follow to not only know when to pull the trigger, but also how to pull the trigger and with confidence. Welcome to episode 18 of Everything Entrepreneurship, the podcast with Jerome Carter, the place for ambitious employees, skilled professionals, those climbing up the corporate ladder, and my working entrepreneurs as well. I want to take a moment to say thank you to everybody that's been supporting the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify. And if you've been consuming it the right way on YouTube, every single person that presses subscribe, I really appreciate, the comments, the interaction, the likes, even people that have been posting it on their own social media. I always say this, and it's not cliche, and I don't want to get repetitive. It's not about the vanity metrics. I'm not on a path to 1,000 subscribers. I'm trying to impact 1,000 entrepreneurs in the right way. Not giving fluff, not giving get rich quick. This 2 steps to 100,000 or $1 million. No, this is what you can actually do. You have a real life, real things going on, and this is how you can succeed in any industry. It doesn't matter. I'm not pushing. You got to do this. I did this, so you have to do this. No, hey, regardless, you understand how hard things are. People need more money, and you need a second form of income, especially if you're not willing to leave your job, which you shouldn't do if it's not for you. But yeah, let me get into the episode, because this one, I say I have a crazy episode for you guys like almost every single time, but that's truly because the time I spend looking up or just the time I spend in my week putting together these episodes is strategic. And it's not just strategic as to what's going to do well on YouTube, but more so what is strategic that can help you. I want to give you both immediate short-term value as well as plant the seeds for that long-term value. And analysis paralysis has messed a lot of people up, but it truly is the new form of procrastination. So without further ado, let's get into it. So when I say overthinking and over-researching is a new form of procrastination, exactly what do I mean? I mean, people are working hard to feel productive without actually moving the needle in their business, side hustle, or whatever they're going after. That looks like a person that has hours of reels recorded but hasn't put out a single one. That's a person that has a Shopify store that's about like 90 to 95, maybe like 98% there, like it's ready to launch, but they don't launch it because they're waiting for that perfection. Let me just look up this new technique or this new method to get attention, whatever it might be. That might be a person that's been watching YouTube videos or listening to podcasts for like 5 or 6 weeks about one topic, but hasn't pulled the trigger to test or measure anything for themselves. This looks like putting time and attention into a business idea or a business model just so that a week or 2 weeks later, you have shiny object syndrome and you move to something else and give that a couple weeks. And then you move to something else and give that a couple weeks. Or you put your time and energy into learning something, and then you get so overwhelmed about all the different information and what it would quote unquote take to get it off the ground that you end up getting deterred, and you take time off just to, once you get the energy back to do it again, you spend all this time getting information, but don't actually act on it because you start to see, it seems like it's a lot more work than they say, right? So whereas I'm going to give you practical steps you can follow, you know me, I'm going to actually preface it with the psychological mindset part. Don't worry, this isn't just some woo-woo, you got to just know the right feeling. No, there's a rhyme and rhythm to this. And once you have this down pat, you will never procrastinate again. And with that said, I have a book recommendation. It's been a while, it's been a couple months, but Nick Kalinda, imagine reading this book. I'll put it right here. See, I'm getting better at this. First off, he's one of my favorite authors. He literally blends psychology and marketing, 2 of my favorite things in the world. And he puts it in a way that you can truly understand. In my opinion, his 3rd book, Imagine Just Reading This Book, is my favorite of all of them. The first one is like introductory. Anybody can really just get the premise. The second one is like more like psychology focused. But this one is, I believe, is like the perfect mix. And he has a 4th book coming out, I believe is specifically around like pricing psychology. But yeah, when it comes to analysis paralysis and overcoming it, this book actually is really good because it gives you conventional and unconventional methods that you can persuade behavior. And he also goes into how you can persuade yourself into doing that psychologically. And what do I always say? The two things that you need to succeed in any business venture is the right mindset and to do the work. And his books are amazing at getting yourself to do the work. So that being said, how do you know when the right time is? Like, when have you done enough work? When can you detach from all the information so you don't get that analysis paralysis? You just got the information you needed. You can get out and you can test it so you can start making progress or money or whatever your end goal might be, right? Typically, when answering this question, I like to take a market research approach. Not just in my company, but any person that's good at marketing will tell you that market research is literally a determining factor as to how successful a business will and won't be. I say 95, 90, maybe even 98% of small businesses don't do market research. And that's one reason why so many fail. Anybody can get some stuff on luck, whatever it might be. But when you do this at a high level, market research is almost key. It's almost like necessity. I won't get into that rabbit hole. I do have a little section about me, what I've been up to, and I actually have a couple Q&As, a couple questions from some listeners, but I'll get to that later. You know me, it's not about me, it's about you, right? So let me get back on track, my bad. When we do market research, we don't just use Google. We don't just use ChatGPT. You're trying to accumulate information and answers on a specific topic, industry, or market for a product, service, or system, and you can't just rely on one source. Sometimes I find the answer comes a little too easy, and it's up to me to test that to see if there's another credible source, whether it be online or wherever else, that supports that. I have to make sure that I'm not going off of just opinion pieces, subjective material, but more so objective places that are, what's the best word? That are vetted, right? And when you do that, I'm not going to make this a whole market research play, but you have to take a market research approach when you're trying to figure out when are you approaching analysis paralysis, because you do need to look into a subject, into a topic to a certain extent so that you have enough that you can act on, right? But typically, if you can get the same or somewhat similar information from 3 reputable sources, then you have just about enough you need to act on it. If we take this away from a company hiring you to do market research on like their whole industry, and we just put this towards you and the side hustle or business that you're going after, just limit yourself to 3. If you're looking to get into wholesaling real estate, you can find so much information, you'll be there for hours. You might even be there for days. But what are you looking for? What are the steps it takes for you to start? And can you verify those steps? Let's say it's 7 steps. Let me find 3 different sources for each of those 7 steps. And once I have understanding that they're basically saying within the realms of this information right here, these 3 bullets, then you can jot that down as your answer to that. And then you can compile. Okay, so for each of these 7 steps, I need to do A, B, C, D, E, and so on, right? And then you act on it. And another train of thought is, can you explain it? Can you explain what it is you're doing or going after in simple language to somebody that's in elementary school? If you can't articulate what it is that you're doing, then you might not understand or grasp the concept. So one of my previous episodes, I talked about the slippery slope of entrepreneurship, right? And when you're more side hustle focused, I find that you get people that are like, I'm just trying to do this little side hustle. I'm trying to just be a content creator. Why do I have to do market research for this? Shouldn't I just be able to, I feel this, turn the camera on? And I'm like, to an extent, yes. But at the same time, if you're doing something, might as well do it at the highest level that you can. And if you're trying to do it at the highest level, it makes sense to at least research who has done what you're trying to do successfully. What did they overcome? What do they wish they did differently? What are things that are consistent? What are they saying that they're doing? What are things that they're not saying they're doing? What are things that you notice from that? And then say, okay, cool, this is one person. Let me find 4 more people. And then I have 5 people. Now that's something that could be done fast, right? It doesn't have to be a whole process. Just because you're being thorough doesn't mean it has to be long-winded. It just has to accomplish the goal. And if the goal is to have a solid understanding of what's needed in the steps to do something, you have to get in and get out. Technically, you could be in the research phase. You can be in the analysis phase forever. there's always going to be a different perspective. There's always going to be a different source. There's always going to be more that you can take. But you have to understand that sweet spot comes when you can articulate it at a basic level and you can find supporting documents or supporting sources that are somewhat objective, more so than subjective, as to what it takes to do it. Now, whereas this topic is very broad, I broke it down into 3 steps that you can follow so that you know what that sweet spot is and anything that you're pursuing. So you're identifying that sweet spot and then how to actually act on it. So all that is how you start to approach that sweet spot. It's a range, it's not the moment you go from 1 to 10 and you hit 7, that's the time to pull the trigger. It's on a scale from 1, not started, to 10, you've consumed over 100 hours of information. If it isn't 7, it might be between 5 and like 8. That's when you can pull the trigger because you have a quantity of 5 in whatever amount of information that you needed. So that means if we have that range of 5 to 8, you could be at 5.2, you could be at 7.6, you could be at 7 flat. But a good place to start again is a solid list of the steps needed as to where you are right now. If you're just starting, what are the 5 steps to start? If you're stuck, what are the 5 steps you need to do to get unstuck? If you're trying to scale, what are the 5 steps that you need to scale? And then research answers for those 5 steps. Don't spend too much time, but spend enough time, if that makes sense. So if enough time is 2 hours, that's enough time. If enough time is 7 hours, that's enough time. Too much time is the moment you go past that. So if you only needed 7 hours of research and you end up doing 7.5, you did too much. And in the other example, if it required, let's just say it took 2 hours of research and you ended up doing 3. That doesn't hurt you, but you still did too much. Because once we get into that, and I said it before in another episode, the goal goes from doing the thing to learning about the thing. And once you learn and keep on learning and keep on learning and keep on watching more videos, more podcasts, you become full. And because you become full, okay, I can check out, I did it. Whereas you didn't actually move the needle because it went from doing the thing to learning about the thing. So that's how you identify that sweet spot. You don't want to overcomplicate anything. Overcomplicating it makes you want to not do it. We want to keep this as simple as possible. If it requires something complex, then that's what it is. But you don't need to be the person to do that. So I'm kind of saying you're not going to have a guarantee that that's the time. By having a range to act within, you're trying to increase your level of certainty to pull the trigger. That's a video all in itself. It goes from is it possible to is it probable to is it likely to is it certain to is it guaranteed. And in entrepreneurship, you don't get guarantees. The best thing you can get is certainty. And the best way you can increase that level of certainty is being prepared and understanding how to adapt when things go left or right. So that's why we do take time to prepare and do that research. That's why the threshold starts somewhere, that 5 out of 8, let's say, for that same example. Because at that point, you've taken in enough information that you are okay. You're going to be okay if things go left, if things go right, because you looked at different sources. You looked at the steps that are needed. And you have to rely on yourself in the moment to do that. I want to take a moment to invite you to the Employee to Entrepreneur Masterclass I'm doing this Wednesday. Now more than ever, everything is more expensive. Companies are downsizing, laying people off, and a second income stream is needed more than ever. Whereas I'm not going to tell you the business model or the industry to get into, I can take you from employee to entrepreneur better than anybody else. And regardless of if you work the hours from 9 to 5, if you're working a job and you want more, I'm breaking down 3 things. How to use that job or that 9 to 5 as a launch pad so you can dig into the gold mine that you're already sitting on, the skills that you already have. How to control your 5 to 9 or the time that you're not working as a real person with real responsibilities and real people that are counting on you. And how to go from confusion to traction, giving you a strategy that you can apply so that you can have success in that side hustle or business that you're going after to really have that second or third income stream coming in. Again, it's live this Wednesday. The link is down below, and I hope to see you there. Now back to the episode. And that's when we get into the mindset aspect, right? It's like, okay, if I know that there's this unwritten moment that I have enough information, and KJC is saying, get the exact steps needed for what I'm tackling, get information from 3 reputable sources on each of those steps, figure out what stands out, and that's my answer. Getting that information, I have enough information on the steps, I can start acting on them, right? And one of the main reasons why people don't actually act on it, again, mindset, do the work, people don't act on it because they either want things too fast, like instant, because that's just the time we're living in, or they're not willing to put in the work if it takes time. Now, I'm going to read a quote from a guy on YouTube. I'll link the video below. And it says, "It only takes 6 to 12 months of hard work." And if that sounds like a lot, then that's the problem. You're expecting it too fast. And because of that, you're going slower than people willing to go slow because you're going nowhere. So when I say you're closer than you think, I'm not necessarily talking about time, although it could take time. The difference is in what you're doing. All you have to do is start doing the thing, and within 6 to 12 months, you'll be there. So whereas he says it only takes 6 to 12 months and people are expecting it to be fast, if you understand it can happen fast, whatever your goal is, whether it's monetary, whether it's a certification, whether it's a raise, it can happen fast. But by expecting it to happen fast, you psych yourself out if you've done all the research from actually following through and putting in the work and doing the steps because you're expecting it too fast. You have to get in love with the inputs and not the outputs. Do what you can control, not worry about what you can't. So if you know the range that you have to get to, how do you actually pull the trigger? All right, that's a great question. Well, there's 3 things you can do, right? And the first thing, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go on. Here goes a little KJC rant, right? When I'm helping somebody, this isn't just a consultation. This isn't just clients. It could be friends or family. When you take on a task to accomplish your goal, what gets under my skin so much, like it truly is irritating. The people that don't just act, the ones that psych themselves out, the ones that might be negative in their approach, they don't see themselves, or actually, let me say it this way. Oftentimes, when they think about the future as it pertains to like a side hustle or business goal, so many people put themselves in the future where they are now, if that makes any sense. If you make a goal to pay off your debt, right? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use an example. Let's say it's May and you have a goal. Let's say it's May and you're $50,000 in debt and you would so love to be debt free by next May. What I found is, and this is all people, like there's a group, if you're not the type that just goes all in and just does it and just is optimistic in how you can do it, you're on this side. It's 2 sides of a coin. They typically look at next May thinking about accomplishing it from where they currently are. You can't set a goal, in this instance, this example, to pay off your debt by next May and think that nothing has changed up until then. If you set that goal, you're committing to changing your daily inputs, your daily tasks, your daily routine. You're building towards something. So it's a slap in the face, not just to your future self, but to everybody else that believes in you, for you to immediately get discouraged, get depressed, or get sad. Oh man, I want to pay off my debt by next May, but how am I going to do that making this? Who said that you're going to be in the same position this time next year? How come something can't happen from the 2 months, from the 6 months to a year that we talked about of you going all in? Like, it really gets under my skin. You can't want for more. You can't have a desire in your heart to achieve a goal, especially a financial goal, and then immediately see yourself at that time, let's just say next year, with nothing changed. We're not doing this we're doing this to change our lives. And in many instances, we're doing this to change the lives of the people we care and love, you know? So to pull the trigger, step 1, you have to have the right mindset that this is going to work. You know, I posted, which one was it? I posted that one right there. The guy with the pickaxe. I posted this on my Instagram yesterday. Quote by Napoleon Bonaparte. "Circumstance, hell, I make circumstance. I see only the objective. The obstacle must give way." That's how you think about your future goals. You don't think about your future goals as if you're in the same spot by the end of the, oh my goodness. Let me get off that. Let me get off that because like the fact that somebody has it inside of them, they can achieve it. No matter their circumstance. We control what we can control, right? The next thing, step 2, you want to make a commitment, often public or public facing. What does that mean? That means if you are a person, especially if you're an introvert, if you were to tell like a close friend, like your best friend, if you were to tell a couple of your peers, people that you trust, or even if you were to post it online and just pin it, like I'm going to accomplish this thing by this time, or I'm going to accomplish this thing by the end of the month. In 30 days, I'm going to X, Y, or Z. By doing that, you have a form of accountability, social accountability. Now, it isn't as strong when it's strangers sometimes, depending on the person. It's often most strong when you're around people that you know, like, care, or respect for. Kind of like a community. You're saying. Subtle plug. You should join the Everything Entrepreneurship community. No, but really, by making it public, you're declaring something and you're held accountable. You're basically obliged to make it happen to a certain extent. You know, nobody's going to have something to your head like, you said you were going to do this in 30 days and you didn't do it in 30 days. 29, you got one more day left. You better do it. No, that's not going to happen. But by making something public to people that you respect, love, like, or care about, or interact with on a daily basis, you start to be like, okay, it's like the, I forget the name. It's like the not the observation. Oh my goodness. It's escaping me right now. Is it the Hawthorne effect? When you're like somebody's working and then if you put like a supervisor, somebody watching them, it increases their work even more because they want to do more work because they're being watched, right? But by making something public, you have an extra battery in your back. Like, okay, that thing is out there. Like they might not hit me up to say, okay, JC, you're accountable. You got to get this done in 30 days. They might not be supporting you in that aspect, but they're watching. Next conversation, they might ask, hey, how's that thing going? Are you still consistent? Are you still on it? That brings us to number 3. Not just doing it, but how you can be consistent so you can get that end goal. I'm gonna hit you with the 17 by 17 method. That's a KJC exclusive, right? So what does that basically mean? For your goal, side hustle, business, whatever it might be, professional goal, you're gonna identify the inputs that you can do daily to contribute towards that. You can commit to something small, like recording a 60-second video every single day of your pitch, imagining that you're talking to somebody and giving your pitch for your product or service. Or it could be like posting one piece of content every single day for 17 days. I always go back to my cook example. Come up with one brand new recipe if you're a cook or a chef every single day for 17 days. Or if you're in a different industry, you can go to 17 businesses once you're done work or before work every single day for 17 days. If you're an established business and you have at least 17 reviews, you can reach out and follow up with 17 people 17 days in a row to get feedback on that review, thanking them, asking what you can improve. We're talking about inputs. We're not trying to get a specific goal other than committing to something for 17 days in a row. Now, why do I say 17? A week is cool. Somebody can push themselves and do something for a week. 2 weeks as well. Though it's less, there are people that can push themselves and they can just do something for 14 days. 17 is one of those awkward things. It's like, all right, 17 is more than 2 weeks. It's not enough to officially make it a habit. So it requires you actually waking up and putting purpose to doing something every single day. It doesn't have to be the exact same time every single day. So long as you do 17 inputs in 17 days, it's crucial. And I know this works. It's not only helped me, it's helped others as well. And what you do, depending on your input, you set an alarm. It doesn't have to be like 2, 3 alarms. Set an alarm, whether it be when you wake up, when you eat lunch, before you eat dinner, whatever it might be. And you tell yourself, I need to do this thing. And you don't, depending on how extreme you are, you could do an alarm at lunch that says, I'm not eating dinner if I don't do this input, right? Now, is it the end of the world if you miss a day? No. But the goal is to not miss 2. Don't miss 2 consecutive days. Nobody's perfect. And consistency doesn't look like perfect. It looks like showing up intentionally And when you fall down, coming back harder. People don't understand that. Consistency is not perfection. Consistency is persevering. So if you skip 2 days, you have to start over. So if we have the input, I like the chef idea. If we have the input, I'm going to make a new recipe every single day for 17 days. And you get in, let's say you start Monday, and like most people, Saturday, everything's going on, and you fall off and you miss Saturday. But you do Sunday. Cool. But if it happens again and Wednesday you fall off and Thursday you fall off, Friday starts day one. What we're doing is, at this point, you've already surpassed analysis paralysis. So good on you for that. You've escaped that procrastination cycle. But because of that, you need to treat yourself with the proper respect and give yourself a moment to reflect and have some level of excitement. That's a reward, right? So you found that ideal range. Now you're doing what you need to do. This could be the steps themselves. This could be one of the steps. This is going to be a combination of the steps, but we're focusing on 17 inputs so that we don't only create a true habit, but we understand to not be so hard on ourselves, right? Now, this next part, because it was only 3, I guess I'll give you a bonus one. Depending on the type of person you are, you might want to reward or punish yourself. Nothing too crazy for the reward, nothing too crazy for the punishment. Think about it as in psychology, positive and negative in the sense of adding something or taking something away, not necessarily good, bad, right? By making it 3 days in a row and then another 3 days in a row and another 3 days in a row until the 17 days are up, give yourself a little, not just a little pat on the back, maybe your favorite meal, maybe your favorite drink, maybe you buy yourself something. But we want to celebrate these small wins. That's where people get lost. They're looking for the end goal, but they're not recognizing that they had to overcome past things. Because remember, you have real life going on. You overcome these past things. You haven't been consistent. Now you are consistent, right? And if you miss 2 days, what's a bigger penalty than having to start again? But if you miss that one day, you give yourself some sort of penalty. All right, cool. If I miss one day, I know it's not the end of the world, but I can't do this. I can't see this person. I can't respond back to that. I can't watch this. I can't go here, whatever it might be. Now, some people, like I said, are more extreme than others. I'll leave that to you. But you have to get into a consistent groove of persevering, right? It's not about being perfect. And again, it's because people want to be perfect, because people want everything at once, because everything needs to happen now, fast, that people get lost. The last thing I want to do is to show you how to get over or around analysis paralysis just for you to not do the work, right? So once you get to that moment, you know, okay, cool, I got what I need to do. Let me do it. Doing the work is literally half the battle. And I'll end this point with, I don't know if you guys know, but I love anime. Like KJC loves anime. I love anime. Like I don't need to be out. I don't need to be at restaurants. If I'm home chilling, I got some anime, I'm good, right? But there's an anime called Blue Lock, right? It's a soccer anime in Japan. And the main guy talks about the flow state. If anybody's ever played a sport or done something, you could be playing chess, you could be writing a book, whatever it might be. You know what that flow state is. If you watch basketball, Steph Curry, once he gets in his rhythm, he's in that flow, he doesn't miss. He's the best shooter in the NBA for a reason. So how does a person get into the flow state? Now I'm butchering, don't get me wrong, I'm completely butchering like what they've laid out, but I can give it to you in basic terms so you understand. It's nothing that's woo-woo, but it's more so, okay, this actually does work, right? Oftentimes I'll bring deep philosophical anime concepts and apply them to business. And it actually works, not just for me, but for others as well. So the flow state basically says, and I'll see if I can put it up over here. The flow state basically says that when you do something, if your goal or what you're pursuing is too easy or too complex and far away, you won't do it. If it's too easy, it doesn't require work. It doesn't require sacrifice. So why even try, right? And they say it's so much more eloquent. But it's true. If I'm busting my butt at work and I'm doing all this, I want to make an extra $75 a month. That can be a good goal. but that's also such an easy goal that I won't do what it takes to do it because it's too easy. It's too small. It doesn't get me riled up, doesn't get me excited, right? On the other end of that spectrum, if something is too far off, like let's say it takes 100 hours for some sort of certification and I want to do that in 20 hours, that becomes way too out there. And because it's way too out there, you disassociate and you're lost, right? You have to pick a goal. You have to pick a challenge. You have to pick your next step. Maybe not your next step, but a couple steps ahead to be challenging enough that you act, but not too challenging that you disassociate and that you don't act, right? It's very similar to that analysis paralysis and actually that sweet spot to actually acting on something. I'll leave a video link below of someone explaining it much better than me. If you do like anime, shout out to the anime community. We're growing, you feel me? See, I'm just trying to give you all the different ways around this because this is something that most people can relate to. You know, you've been there before, you've tried this, you got so much information, you stalled. And if you do have the information and you know what you got to do, you don't follow through on it. So this is how you can know when to actually move. And this is how you can actually get the work done. You know, this is all based off of your life. This isn't just cookie cutter. Oh, you have to dictate what your reward is and what your punishment is. You have to dictate what those 17 inputs are. You have to dictate how far you want to go and what you're doing. Right. So yeah, this isn't necessarily a deep dive. It's an episode topic. So I'll leave that there for now. So that being said, let's move into the best part of the show. What's KJC been up to? I got some Q&As. I do. Thank you to everybody that's been reaching out to me on Instagram. If you have a question that you want me to say on the podcast, follow me and DM me at kyle.jerome.carter on Instagram, or email me at kjc.kylejeromecarter.com or kjc@svsm.us, whichever you prefer, doesn't matter. Before I get into the Q&As, what have I been up to? This week went by fast, you know. I've been preparing for this workshop. I had a really good conversation with the brokerage owner yesterday in preparation for doing this workshop for staff. If you have employees, if you have a staff, you don't have to just be local to New Jersey, Philadelphia area. Get in contact with me. These workshops are going to be like revolutionary. I'm telling you. Within the next 6 months, there's going to be other people copying this because it's so beneficial. You know, not every employer can afford to give bonuses. Not every employer can afford to give raises. But every employer wants entrepreneurial employees, people that take pride in what they do and want to better themselves as an employee to grow in their position, but also to help the company, while at the same time, in the off time, knowing that they can build a side income as well. You know, you don't always have to quit. You feel me? So the workshop has got me excited. But yeah, with that being said, let me get into the Q&As so we can wrap this up. I had a couple, again, message me on Instagram. I love these. I love the support. I love the buy-in that you guys have. So I'm going to pour into you as well. Right. I picked 3. So first one, and remember, now technically, people weren't saying, hey, KJC in the questions. They would ask the question, but I would just put, hey KJC at the beginning. I love, because it's Kyle Jerome Carter or KJC, full name or initials. It doesn't matter, so long as you use one of the two. You feel me? So these actually have, hey KJC. One of them doesn't, but 2 of them do. Hey KJC, I've been listening to the podcast and I'm serious about wanting to start something, but I keep getting stuck at the beginning. Everyone says to follow your passion, but I don't feel like I have some burning passion or big idea. I don't want to waste time starting the wrong thing, but I also don't want to stay stuck overthinking it. What kind of business should someone like me start? Well, first off, thank you for the question. And I want to preface this with passion is optional. You don't necessarily need to be passionate about a business that you're doing. You just have to be able to commit to it, right? And you're less likely to burn out or stop if it's somewhat in line with what you want to do, right? That's why I always go back to business isn't always sexy. Some of the most standard, monotonous businesses in the world make some of the most money or people behind the scenes, right? And again, I don't give this is what you need to do as far as like business models. But what I will say is this, to find out if it is for you, you can do What's worked best in the last year? If you're already doing it, regardless, just turn the camera on and press record. What do you mean? If you're a girl that is already doing her hair, just turn the camera on while you're doing your hair and speak out loud. That's content. You can chop that up or release it all at once. You have long form and or short form. You're starting the process, right? And through this, you not only get people to interact with you, but you also start to figure out what you can monetize or what you want to do, right? If you are working a full-time job, but you drive DoorDash or Uber Eats, let's say you've been doing that for like 2-3 months on the weekends, you could honestly flip the camera on. Some people might be embarrassed, but others aren't. To say, hey, I've been doing this for 3 months. I've been doing this for 6 months. I've been doing this for 2 months. I've been doing this for a year. These are all the things you need to do once you start doing DoorDash or Uber Eats, whatever it might be. By doing this, you're putting yourself out there. You're allowing content to be consumed. You're building a community of people, and you're going to find a way that you can monetize that. So when you say, what kind of business should somebody like you do? You might be more of an investments person if you have some money saved up. You might go after something like affiliate marketing. But again, if you're going to do it regardless, the easiest thing you can do is turn the camera on, make content, and then allow time to pass so you can figure it out. Though it might feel like it, it's not like you need this business or this thing, this side hustle to work right now. Allow time for you to grow into it to figure out exactly which direction you really want to go. All right. Thank you for the question. Question number 2. Hey, KJC, my question is, do you think entrepreneurship is for everyone? I've been driving semi-trucks for 6 years, but I'm capped out and want to make more money. I have a vision to start a mobile detailing business, but seems like something is always coming up when I need to buy supplies. But I also sometimes tell myself I'm too old to start that business because I'm 42 years old. And I know in this day, you need more than one stream of income. Thanks, and I enjoy your videos. Thank you for the question. Now, in this response, you can look at this 2 ways. Before I go into the 2 ways, I'll preface it with this. Is entrepreneurship for everyone? Though I think everyone has the capability to be an entrepreneur, I don't think entrepreneurship is for everybody. You can invest money without being an entrepreneur. So it's not about the gateway to money is entrepreneurship, right? People can save, people can invest. You don't need to actively put a product or service out there to the market. Now, with that being said, I think most people are entrepreneurial and should lean into it, right? Now, when we go to your example, are you too old? Well, first off, unless you're like 99, let me get real. No, you're not too old. 42 means you've lived enough life that you have a perspective that other people don't. Yes, there's people younger than you, and yes, there's people older than you. But you, at 42, in the 6 years that you've driven, you're probably more aware of certain things, not just about your semi-truck, but the business you're in, that you can apply that to the detailing business or something else. So with that being said, you have 2 options, or at least I would look at 2 options. Option 1, because you're already prefaced it with, is it for everybody? I don't know what I should do, shouldn't do. The easiest thing is probably, again, to lean into what you've been doing. I would compile a list of everything you know, and then I would make another list. If you have 10 points, find another 10 points of the objective other things that you know. As I always say, people are oblivious to all the objective accomplishments, skills, and knowledge they have about one specific industry or market, right? You might have been driving for 6 years, and there's stuff that's just second nature to you. But that's actually something that people potentially could pay for or could sign up for to get access to, right? So you can monetize your knowledge of semi-trucks so that you don't have to drive semi-trucks. That's a real possibility. Option number 2, if you want to go into the mobile detail business, similar to what I said about the analysis, actually it's crazy. Similar to the analysis paralysis, whereas you're not stuck in getting information, if you need 3 more items, or if you need 2 more items, if you need 10 more items, your immediate next step is buying the rest of those items. So you have them in front of you. That's kind of like that point 2 public accountability. Whereas it's not public at that point, it's all in front of you. You spent the money. One reason why, not just me, but we charge for what we do, whether it be a consultation, whether it be coaching, whether it be a community, is because it takes skin in the game to care about something. So the more money you put out into that detail business, the more something in you is going to say, I want a return for this, which is going to prompt you more the motivation to do the work, right? From there, I would do some market research on 5 to 10 people that are doing it the way you want to. And again, look up what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, the ins, the outs. And then once you have all of the equipment that you need, or all the materials, at that point, you put it in. What are the 5 steps? What are the 10 steps I need to follow? I have 20 hours free from semi-trucks every week. I have 16 hours. I have 6 hours. I have 46 hours. Whatever the time is allotted, you can put a time, even if it's like 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, 2 hours a day, on the days that you do have time towards that, so you can build it out. Celebrate the small wins along the way, because that's huge. You have to give yourself pats in the back, because an entrepreneur, as a business owner, nobody gives us pats in the back. But the fact that you are consuming this content shows that you care. You know you need another form of income. Now you need to either look in what you've done to create that form of income, or look out at the field to see what they're doing, so you can duplicate that with your own positioning or your own twist, right? Thank you for the question. Now, you got this. You really do got this. You just have to act on it, go in a direction, and go until you get results, you know? Number 3. Again, this one doesn't say, hey, KJC. It says Kyle. I don't even know who Kyle is. I'm going to say, hey, KJC, I've built a pretty good career. I'm respected in my industry. I make 6 figures, and people come to me for advice all the time. But lately, I've been feeling like I want more control, more fulfillment, but I'm scared to mess up what I've already built. Is it crazy to think about pivoting or starting something new at this stage? Well, first things first, you don't need to necessarily destroy your career to build a new income stream. We're not doing any reckless quitting. If you have that tenure, if you have that experience, similar to the last question that I answered, you're sitting on a gold mine, not just of your workplace, of your lived experience. Most times the corporate people that I talk to, they climb that corporate ladder, but at what cost? Who are you anymore? You're doing what you got to do to get the next promotion, but when it comes time to building something for your security outside of a severance, if it comes to that, outside of your 401k, what do you do? What do you have? It's not about doing anything extreme. Everything for you is pretty much alignment. Like, what can you immediately build off of? Do you have a contact list that you can make a newsletter? What can you figure out that you do well that you can charge for, right? Now, if you make the kind of money you say you do, you could buy a business. You could buy a franchise, or you could invest in starting something of your own, like a consulting thing. You know, similar to the advice I gave to the first person, what do you already do? If you have kids that are in sports, you could make a guide on how saving time and building better relationships for parents with kids that play sports. There's so much. The same way there used to be an old ad on Facebook, like there's a group for everything. There truly is. You know, one of my cats, I have a tortie. Her name's Sophia. Shout out Quincy too, but Sophia's a tortie. There are Facebook groups for tortie cats that have allergy issues on their right leg. There's a group of that with thousands of people. Like, I love anime. There's a group for corporate employees that want to go to Japan that love anime. There's a group for that. I don't know. I didn't check that one. The tortie cat one there is. But there's a group for that. There's a community for you. There's something that you can pour into, add value without risking your job, your career, and everything you've built so far. So I hope that answers your question. This is a long episode. You know, in preparation for the workshop, I've been condensing the information I give. Whereas this is a podcast and I'm able to just flow to an extent, I am working on condensing the information, just the raw meat and potatoes. But with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up here. If you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you rocking with me. And yeah, like, I really appreciate you. Like, you're in this with me, my founding 500 subscribers. I'm not worried about 1,000, my founding 500, and I have something good for you. So if you did watch this far, message me on Instagram and just DM me. I watched to the end and I got something for you. So with that being said, I'm going to bring this episode to a close. I hope you have a great rest of your week and you can do everything that you put your mind to. That being said, talk to you guys later.